5 years before Christ, Rum ruled the world, its power vast and unquestioned. Emperors ruled from marble halls, believing history itself bent to their will. In Judea, Roman boots, pressed into ancient streets, and freedom was taxed, measured, and controlled. The people labored under crushing weight, waiting for relief that never seemed to come. For 400 years, God had been silent, yet hope refused to die. The desert listened. The land waited. History held its breath. Far from palaces and power, there stood a village no one watched, Nazareth. In that quiet place lived a young woman, unnoticed by the world, yet seen by God. Mary carried a child, while carrying questions no one could answer. Joseph stood beside her, bound by obedience rather than understanding. A decree from Rum forced them onto the road, turning prophecy into footsteps. The journey was long, the danger was real, but the path had already been written. All roads led to Bethlehem, a town too small to matter, or so it seemed. The village overflowed with strangers, yet had no room for the promised king. Door after door closed, until night swallowed their hope. Pain arrived. Time ran out. There would be no palace. At the edge of the town, they found a place no one wanted. It was enough. There were no witnesses, no announcements, only breath, pain, and promise. The child was born in silence, wrapped not in royalty, but in humility. Above Bethlehem, the heavens bore witness, quietly, faithfully. While the city slept, the night belonged to shepherds, the overlooked and unclean. Fear shattered the calm as heaven broke into the ordinary world. The message was not given to kings or priests, but to the forgotten. And in that humble place, the greatest story ever told quietly began. By ancient custom, a young family entered the city at dawn, bringing new life into old traditions. They came not with wealth, but with obedience, bringing the offering of the poor. Among the worshippers walked an old man who had waited his entire life for this moment. When Simeon saw the child, he knew the waiting was over. He blessed God, declaring salvation had come for all people. Then Simeon turned to Mary and spoke words that would mark her forever. Power in Jerusalem rested in the hands of a dying ruler, consumed by fear. From the east came scholars who studied the heavens and followed a sign. Within walls built to display control, even silence could reveal unease. The advisors knew the ancient words, yet none of them chose to look. The sign drew them onward, beyond fear and beyond politics. Precious gifts spoke without words of royalty, of divinity, and of sacrifice. They left the city behind, guided not by words, but by quiet conviction. Evening settled gently over the land, as if holding a secret close. Not every door opened, and not every journey unfolded as expected. When Herod realized he had been deceived, his fear turned into blood. The land itself seemed to listen, as if aware that something had quietly shifted. Above it all, the heavens remained unchanged, silent, vast, and patient. Egypt received them as strangers, carrying a child the world feared. Here, among exiles, the child was hidden in plain sight. The ruler, who clung to power, found his final days consumed by suffering. The monster fell, and the empire barely noticed. Then the command came again, return, for the danger had passed. Out of Egypt, God called his son back into the quiet of history. They returned not to Jerusalem, but to a village no one watched, Nazareth. Nazareth was small, forgotten, absent from prophecy and expectation. Here, the Son of God grew not in palaces, but in a small home. He learned the weight of wood long before the weight of the cross. From these hills, he could see the world passing by, yet remain unseen. 30 years would pass in silence before the world would hear his voice. Once a year, the road to Jerusalem gathered the faithful into a single flow. For the first time, the city of God stood before him in stone and sound. Here, heaven and earth seemed to touch in ritual and law. He was not there to learn alone, but to ask what no one dared ask. After 3 days, they found him where his heart had always been. Did you not know I must be about my Father's business? After 30 years of silence, the journey turned toward water. At the river stood a prophet calling Israel to repentance. And then, from among the many, one stepped forward with quiet purpose. John resisted, knowing baptism was for sinners alone. As he rose, heaven opened, not in fire, but in affirmation. In the open sky and flowing water, a moment settled into stillness. The Spirit led him not into comfort, but into desolation. 40 days passed, and the body weakened, but the will did not. Hunger became the first weapon, turned stones into bread. Power was offered without suffering, rule without the cross. Faith was twisted into spectacle, but he would not test God. The tempter left, and the mission could finally begin. He returned to the town that had watched him grow, expecting nothing, yet carrying everything. In the synagogue, he spoke words that would divide belief from offense. The words lingered in the room, unsettling those who thought they knew him well. What had once felt familiar now pressed in, uneasy with what it could not control. They tried to end his story before it could begin. But no one could take his life. His hour had not yet come. By the sea, ordinary men wrestled with empty nets and tired hope. Into their exhaustion walked a stranger with unexplainable calm. He asked them to try once more, when reason said stop. What filled the nets shattered everything they thought they knew. In that moment, Peter saw not fish, but holiness. They left the nets behind and followed a path they could not yet see. It began not in a temple, but at a wedding where joy was expected, not miracles. When the wine ran out, embarrassment threatened the celebration. He spoke quietly, no announcement, no spectacle. Water became wine, and only a few ever knew. Joy returned, deeper than before, without knowing why. This was only the beginning. Faith had found its first spark. In Capernaum, life moved fast, and word of him moved faster. He taught not like the scribes, but with unmistakable authority. The broken gathered, believing healing was finally within reach. In Jerusalem, one ruler came by night, afraid to be seen seeking truth. He spoke of rebirth, not by law, but by spirit. For God so loved the world, the door opened to all humanity. To pass through Samaria was to step into land most travelers avoided. At the hottest hour of the day, the road left him alone. She came at an hour chosen for solitude, not company. A conversation began where custom said it should not. Something in his words unsettled what she thought she knew. She left the well behind, carrying more than water. They left the region behind, but the encounter stayed with them. A father arrived in desperation, not for himself, but for his child. He was told to return home and trust what he could not yet see. At that same hour, the crisis passed without explanation. Distance no longer mattered. The household believed. His name spread, and with it a choice no one could avoid. By the pool, suffering waited year after year for movement that never came. One sentence changed everything. Get up, take your mat, walk. The miracle shocked them, but the timing outraged them. He did not retreat. He spoke of God as his Father. From that day on, opposition turned deadly. Healing had revealed something deeper, the cost of truth. They came hungry, not for bread, but for meaning. He spoke in simple words, and people leaned closer. He spoke to those usually ignored, and they listened. He challenged how people treated one another. His words unsettled comfortable ideas. He had not come to comfort, but to change how people saw the world. The storm did not ask who he was. It simply tried to kill them. With 3 words, the storm obeyed. Peace did not last. Darkness was waiting on the shore. Chains could not hold him, but fear ruled him. In one command, darkness lost its grip. This time, the enemy was death itself. He sent the mourners away. Death would not have the final word here. Talitha Kam, little girl, I say to you, arise. Death loosened its grip and let go. He told them to tell no one, but wonder rarely obeys. The story moved faster than silence ever could. Each miracle pulled the future closer, and danger with it. They followed him for days, forgetting food, forgetting time. 5 loaves, 2 fish, and thousands waiting. The bread did not stop, it kept coming. They wanted a king, one who would feed them and defeat Rome. He refused the crown they offered and chose a harder road. Alone on the sea, they fought the night and did not see him coming. For hours they fought the sea and lost ground with every stroke. Then they saw the impossible, someone walking toward them. Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid. The wind stopped the moment he stepped inside. I am the bread of life. Many turned back, only a few stayed. Far from the crowds, he asked the question that would change everything. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. On this rock I will build my church, and the gates of death will not prevail. Then he spoke of suffering, rejection, death. 6 days later, he led 3 of them up the mountain. For a moment, the veil was lifted and glory was revealed. They descended the mountain, but nothing would ever look the same. Below the mountain, suffering waited, untouched by glory. A father's hope was running out, his son slipping further away. With one command, the darkness released its hold. They were amazed, but he was already looking ahead. The Son of Man will be delivered into human hands. He set his face toward Jerusalem and did not look back. Rejection followed him, even before the cross. He spoke of a kingdom not built on power, but on surrender. Whoever wants to be first must become the servant of all. In his kingdom, the smallest were the greatest. Jerusalem waited, unaware of what was coming. He taught in stories, mirrors that revealed the heart. One man wanted eternal life, but not at the cost of letting go. Wealth weighed heavier than faith. What is impossible for man is possible with God. A blind man saw what others could not. Faith opened his eyes, and he followed the road ahead. Jerusalem erupted, believing the king had finally arrived. He came not on a war horse, but on a donkey. They shouted salvation, yet misunderstood the cost. The house of prayer had become a marketplace. My house shall be a house of prayer. From that moment, they decided he had to die. They questioned his authority, hoping to trap him with words. Every snare failed, truth slipped through untouched. Woe to you, words sharp as a blade. She gave little and offered everything.
We are close to the completion of our plan.
Darkness, afraid of the light. 30 pieces of silver, and the path was set. This night would change everything, though they did not yet know it. One of you will betray me. He gave them his body before it was broken. Alone, he carried the weight no one else could bear. Not my will, but yours be done. And then darkness arrived with a kiss. Betrayal does not always arrive with violence. Sometimes it comes with affection. Violence felt justified, but it was not his way. and just as he said, they all fled. Fear spoke louder than loyalty. And the rooster crowed right on time. Judgment was passed before the sun could rise. At first light, they rushed to make the night's injustice official. They would not enter, but demanded blood. Are you the king they claim? My authority does not come from this place. He found no crime, but feared the noise. Responsibility was passed again. He wanted a spectacle, but was met with silence. Power mocked what it could not understand. Empire perfected suffering and applied it without mercy. They crowned him with pain. Two stood before them, and they chose wrongly. He washed his hands, but history did not. The sentence was carried on his shoulders. Each step carved suffering into stone. His strength failed, but his purpose did not. A stranger carried what love would later choose. Even now, he thought of others before himself. The hill waited for the cost of love to be paid. They lifted him up just as he said they would. One mocked him, one believed. At noon, the light began to leave the world. Even in death, he formed a family. It is finished. The barrier fell, and the price was paid. When the voices faded, the hill was left with silence. When hope collapsed, love was the last thing standing. When courage was most dangerous, one man stepped forward.
I request permission for the body.
Hands that once fled returned, gentle, careful, changed. Before the day ended, they laid him to rest. The stone rolled shut, sealing grief inside the dark. Power arrived late, trying to control what was already done. They sealed the stone, trusting death to stay obedient. They guarded the grave, not knowing it held more than silence. Behind locked doors, fear buried what faith once believed. Love kept moving, even when belief could not. And the world waited, unaware that the ending was not the end. Before the sun rose, everything had already changed. Love came first, before understanding ever could. The stone was gone, and so was death's certainty. The grave was empty, but the promise remained. Power trembled because the impossible had happened. She thought he was gone until he spoke her name. Death was defeated, not in theory, but in flesh and breath. The first witness ran, carrying news that would change the world. Joy sounded like madness to hearts trained by loss. They walked with hope without knowing its name. Failure was not the end. Love still had work to do. He did not give them power. He gave them a mission. Go, and the world would never be the same. He left, but not in absence. He rose beyond sight, but not beyond reach. The story did not end. It was only entrusted